Okay, so this is from Matthew chapter, the parable of the three servants. So it's Matthew chapter 25, verse 14. And it says really quickly, and the kingdom of heaven can be illustrated by a story of a man going on a long trip. He called together his servants and entrusted money to them while he was gone. He gave 5 bags of silver to one, 2 bags of silver to another, and 1 bag to the last, dividing it in portions. And dividing it in proportion to their abilities. And then he went on a trip. So what the servant who had 5, he began and invested, and he came back 5 more. The servant who had 2 bags also went to work, and he earned 2 more. And the servant who had received 1 bag dug it in a hole and stuck it in the ground to hide his master's money. And when the master finally came back from his trip, he called them to give an account for what they had used the money. The servant to whom he entrusted the 5 bags came forward with the 5 more, so on and so forth. And the one who had 1, each one who multiplied it said, "Well done, my good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in handling small amounts, so now I will give you many more responsibilities." The servant who had 1 bag, "Master, I knew you were a harsh man and didn't want to lose it, so I was afraid, so I hid it." And he said, "You wicked and lazy servant, if I knew a harvest didn't plant any crops, I'd gather no more." And this made me realize that this is about the judgment. Because God entrusts us this is about the judgment, because think about it. God gives us abilities, right? He gives us gifts, he gives us talents in accordance to our abilities, right? So, because he knows us. And so he expects us to use these talents that he given. He expects us to not only use them, but to steward it well. To steward over our talents and gifts that he's given us well. And I have been really, really repenting, because I've been given things and I have not been stewarding the things that the Lord has entrusted me well. And my heart is very grieved over this, because I know that had I would A, be in a better place, and B, I would have done so much more for the Lord. And now my prayer is to God to compress time frames, because we are at the end of times, that I may make up for what the time that I lost. So it just came to me that it's almost an example of the judgment seat, because when we see the Lord on that day of judgment, we're going to have to settle an account the same way the Lord in this parable, when he returned, he settled the accounts with his 3 servants to see what had they did with what he had gave them. And the same with us. He's going to ask us, what do we do with what he has given us? What have we multiplied it? Have we used it? Or did we use fear to not use what he gave at all and stick it in the ground like that one servant? And my heart is just grieved, and I just thought I would just share, and maybe you could pray like I'm praying, that the Lord repent for not stewarding things well that he's given me, or given you as well if you're like me, and to compress time frames, and to, with little time that we have left, do the absolutely most can do for the Lord, because he is so good and he is so deserving of our absolute best. And I pray that this blesses you, and you will do more for the Lord.